Get your dirty hands off my aircraft, boy! Victoria Sterling's Louboutin heel kicks the cleaning bucket. Oil explodes across the hangar floor. Darius Williams scrambles backward as liquid splashes his maintenance uniform. 200 employees gasp. Pentagon officials freeze mid-conversation. Live news cameras swing toward the chaos. Victoria towers over the kneeling black man, her face twisted with disgust. What makes you people think you can touch expensive equipment? She gestures dismissively at the gleaming F-35 prototype. You belong on the ground, cleaning up after your betters. The crowd shifts uncomfortably. Some laugh nervously. Others record with their phones. Victoria's voice drips with contempt as she points at the $80 million killing machine behind her. Fine, fly this jet and I'll marry you. The hangar erupts in shocked laughter. But when you crash this $80 million aircraft, your entire family will be in debt to me for life. Have you ever watched someone's prejudice become their downfall? The chaos erupts instantly. Within seconds, phones flood social media. The hashtag #FlyThisJetMarriage explodes across Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Victoria Sterling has just made the most public bet in corporate history. But this moment didn't happen overnight. This is the culmination of 6 months of systematic cruelty that would make seasoned executives cringe. Sterling Aviation Technologies sprawls across 400 acres of prime Silicon Valley real estate. The company builds the deadliest aircraft on Earth, F-35 Lightning fighters that cost governments $100 million each. Stealth bombers capable of penetrating any defense system. Experimental prototypes that exist in classification levels so secret that even their names are redacted. Victoria inherited this empire when her father died 2 years ago. She also inherited his attitudes about who deserves to touch these machines. The company employs 12,000 people across 3 continents. Annual revenue, $4.7 billion. Pentagon contracts, classified. International sales, enough to topple small governments. Today was supposed to be Sterling's biggest triumph. Pentagon officials arrived to award the company a $2 billion contract for next-generation fighter aircraft. The deal would make Sterling the dominant military contractor in America for the next 15 years. Victoria planned every detail perfectly. The press conference in the main hangar. The aircraft demonstration for foreign dignitaries. Photo opportunities with generals and defense secretaries. Catered lunch with senators from the Defense Appropriations Committee. She never planned for Darius Williams to be cleaning nearby when the cameras rolled. The systematic destruction of Darius Williams began exactly 6 months and 3 days ago. Darius had worked at Sterling for 2 years as a maintenance technician. He held an aerospace engineering degree from Howard University, graduating summa cum laude. His performance reviews consistently rated exceptional. His colleagues sought his advice on complex technical problems. His supervisors trusted him with the most sensitive aircraft maintenance. Foreign contractors specifically requested his expertise when troubleshooting experimental systems. Pentagon inspectors praised his thoroughness during safety audits. None of that mattered to Victoria Sterling. Month 1. She summoned him to her corner office overlooking the airfield. Floor-to-ceiling windows displayed the company's fleet of test aircraft. Her desk cost more than most people's annual salaries. "Williams," she said without looking up from her computer, "you're being reassigned. Effective immediately, you'll work as a custodial assistant." Darius stared at her. "Ma'am, I don't understand. My performance reviews are irrelevant." Victoria's fingers never stopped typing. "We're restructuring to focus on employee development. You'll learn valuable lessons about workplace hierarchy." The demotion cut his salary by $15,000. No explanation, no appeal process, no documentation of poor performance because none existed. Month 2. Victoria began using Darius's photograph in executive presentations. The image showed him in his maintenance uniform, tools in hand, smiling at the camera. "This is what happens when we hire based on quotas instead of qualifications," she told the board of directors. 20 executives stared at Darius's face on the conference room screen. We must maintain realistic expectations for certain demographics. She kept the slide displayed for 12 minutes while discussing cultural fit and natural aptitudes for different types of work. Board members shifted uncomfortably, but none objected. The presentation was recorded. It would later become evidence in federal discrimination lawsuits. Month 3. Victoria implemented what she called performance-based compensation adjustment. Darius's salary dropped from $45,000 to $25,000. The official reason? Failure to meet productivity expectations. His actual productivity had increased 20% since his demotion. He worked longer hours than any other custodial staff member. Supervisors praised his attention to detail and technical knowledge. The salary cut forced Darius's family into a financial crisis. His mother's cancer treatments cost $800 per week. Their health insurance had lapsed when his previous job eliminated spousal coverage. The reduced income made her treatments impossible to afford. Month 4. Victoria discovered Darius's mother's condition through an employee assistance program inquiry. Instead of offering support, she saw opportunity. She began scheduling Darius's cleaning duties during high-profile visits. Pentagon officials toured Sterling's facilities twice per month. Foreign dignitaries visited quarterly. Defense contractors held meetings in conference rooms that Darius was suddenly required to clean. "Show our guests where you really belong," Victoria would announce loudly whenever important visitors appeared. She'd point at bathrooms, supply closets, or maintenance areas that needed attention. Pentagon generals witnessed Darius scrubbing floors while Victoria discussed multi-billion-dollar contracts. Foreign defense ministers watched him empty trash cans during classified briefings. Industry leaders saw him cleaning windows while negotiating weapons deals. The humiliation was calculated and public. Victoria ensured maximum witness exposure for each incident. Month 5 delivered the cruelest psychological warfare yet. Victoria scheduled an all-hands company meeting in Sterling's main auditorium. 3,000 employees attended in person. Another 9,000 joined via company livestream. The agenda listed major personnel announcements. Victoria took the stage in a designer suit that cost more than Darius's annual salary. Her smile radiated confidence as cameras captured every moment. "Today, I'm pleased to announce a promotion that reflects Sterling's commitment to recognizing hidden talent," she began. "Darius Williams, please join me on stage." Confused murmurs rippled through the auditorium. Darius was working in the basement, unaware of the meeting. Security guards fetched him, still wearing his custodial uniform. "Darius has shown exceptional dedication to Sterling Aviation," Victoria continued as he approached the stage. "His technical knowledge and attention to detail have impressed our entire leadership team." Applause began slowly, then built to a thunderous ovation. 3,000 employees stood and cheered. The live stream chat exploded with congratulations. Darius's mother watched from her hospital bed via smartphone. Tears streamed down her face as she saw her son receiving recognition. She'd been worried about his career changes, but never lost faith in his abilities. Victoria handed Darius a microphone. "Tell everyone about your new position as senior aerospace engineer," she prompted. Darius's hands trembled as he accepted the microphone. His voice cracked with emotion. Thank you, Ms. Sterling. I'm honored by your confidence in my abilities." The crowd cheered louder. His mother sobbed with joy. Victoria let the celebration continue for 90 seconds. Then she held up her hand for silence. "Just kidding." Her laughter cut through the applause like a blade. "April Fools! That was hilarious!" The auditorium fell silent. 3,000 faces registered shock, confusion, and disgust. Victoria's laughter continued. "Did you really think we'd promote a janitor to senior engineer? That's the funniest joke I've heard all year." She gestured dismissively at Darius. "Back to your mop, custodial boy. The bathrooms won't clean themselves." The live stream captured everything. Darius's humiliation, His mother's face crumpled as she disconnected the call. Victoria's cruel laughter echoing through the massive space. The video went viral within hours. Not in the way Victoria intended. Month 6 brought the industry blacklist campaign. Victoria spent 2 weeks crafting the perfect character assassination. She sent personalized emails to every major aerospace company in Silicon Valley, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. Each message contained Darius's professional photograph and a detailed warning. Sterling Aviation strongly advises against hiring Darius Williams. This individual has made false claims about pilot qualifications and technical expertise. His employment history includes performance issues and reliability concerns. Any company hiring him will face potential legal action for contributing to aviation safety risks. The emails reached CEOs, human resources directors, and hiring managers at Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, SpaceX, and 47 other companies. Victoria's reputation carried weight. Sterling Aviation was a respected industry leader. Her father had built relationships across the aerospace sector over 30 years. Other executives trusted her judgment. The blacklist was comprehensive and effective. Darius's job applications to 17 different companies were rejected without explanation. His engineering career was systematically destroyed by corporate coordination. But Victoria's greatest mistake was scheduling him for day shift during the Pentagon visit. General Patricia Hayes led the delegation that arrived at Sterling's private airfield that morning. Behind her walked defense contractors, foreign military attachés, weapons inspectors from 12 nations, and senators from 3 different appropriations committees. The group represented $7 billion in potential contracts. Success would cement Sterling's dominance for the next decade. Failure would cost Victoria her company, her fortune, and her reputation. The morning proceeded flawlessly. Presentations impressed the Pentagon officials. Aircraft demonstrations exceeded performance expectations. A catered lunch with senators went perfectly. Victoria wore a $15,000 Armani suit. Her confidence radiated through the hangar as she discussed Sterling's technological advantages over competitors. Everything was perfect until the cleaning incident. Darius was supposed to be invisible during important visits. Maintenance and custodial staff typically worked night shifts, staying out of sight when dignitaries toured the facilities. But Victoria had deliberately scheduled him for day duty. She wanted witnesses for whatever humiliation she was planning. The kicked bucket was spontaneous. The racist language was instinctive. But the marriage challenge came from 6 months of escalating sadism. The live stream viewer count climbed past 800,000. News networks interrupted regular programming. CEOs throughout Silicon Valley canceled meetings to watch. Victoria basked in the global attention, never suspecting that her victim possessed secrets worth more than her entire empire. But there's something about Darius Williams that nobody suspects. Something that will turn Victoria's cruel joke into the most expensive mistake in corporate history. The man kneeling in oil and humiliation carries secrets worth $50 million in bounty money. Victoria Sterling mocks a janitor. She has no idea she just challenged a ghost. Darius Williams is not his real name. His legal identity was erased 3 years ago by the United States government. The man cleaning aircraft parts once flew the most classified missions in American military history. Call sign, Ghost Alpha. The legend began in Detroit during the automotive industry's collapse. Darius grew up watching his father lose everything when Ford closed the factories. By 12, he was fixing neighbors' cars for grocery money. By 16, he could diagnose problems that stumped professional mechanics. His grandfather, Samuel Williams, noticed the boy's gift. Samuel was 92 and one of the last surviving Tuskegee Airmen. He'd flown P-51 Mustangs over Nazi Germany when the military was segregated. "Boy, you got the touch," Samuel told him while they worked on engines. "But engines on the ground ain't nothing compared to engines in the sky." Samuel's war stories filled Darius's imagination. Combat missions over Europe, dogfights at 20,000 feet, escort missions saving bomber crews from death. "The military didn't want us flying," Samuel explained. Said black folks couldn't handle sophisticated aircraft. We proved them wrong by being better than everyone else. That wisdom became Darius's motto. A true pilot flies not for glory, but to lift up those who cannot soar themselves. Darius enlisted the day after high school graduation. Perfect aptitude scores. Flight instructors called him a natural within his first week. He graduated from the Air Force Academy with highest honors at 21. By 23, he was selected for the military's most elite program, Experimental Test Pilot Operations. The program doesn't officially exist. No records, no public acknowledgement. Ghost pilots fly aircraft that won't appear in budgets for another decade. Darius became the youngest test pilot in program history. His call sign reflected his ability to push experimental aircraft beyond design limits without crashing. He flew prototypes that defied physics. Hypersonic aircraft reaching any global target within 2 hours. Stealth fighters invisible to all radar systems. Autonomous combat drones controlled by artificial intelligence. During 6 years of test flights, Ghost Alpha never experienced equipment malfunction. Other pilots crashed regularly. Equipment failures killed 12% of test pilots annually. Ghost Alpha's record: 47 experimental flights, 0 accidents, 0 failures, 0 close calls. His technical innovations improved aircraft performance beyond engineering expectations. His F-35 modifications increased combat effectiveness by 35%. His safety recommendations enhanced pilot survival across all Air Force aircraft. Enemy nations noticed. Intelligence agencies identified Ghost Alpha as America's most valuable military asset. China offered $25 million for his capture. Russia offered $30 million for intelligence about his flights. North Korea offered $50 million for his assassination. The Pentagon made a difficult decision. Ghost Alpha was too valuable to risk. His classified knowledge threatened national security if captured. Then fate intervened. The call came during a routine test flight 30,000 feet above Nevada. His mother had collapsed during cancer treatment. Tumors were spreading faster than anticipated. She had weeks without experimental treatment that insurance wouldn't cover. Darius faced an impossible choice: continue as America's premier test pilot or care for his dying mother. He chose family. The military couldn't let Ghost Alpha's identity become public. Too many enemies would target him. Too many secrets lived in his memory. The solution was unprecedented. Ghost Alpha's death was fabricated. Official records show Captain Darius Williams died in a classified aircraft accident. His mother received death benefits and a folded flag. The real Darius Williams received a new identity and strict instructions. Disappear into civilian life. Never mention military service. Never apply for aviation jobs that might attract attention. Transition proved devastating. His aerospace engineering degree meant nothing without verifiable experience. Employers couldn't confirm his military background due to classification levels. For 3 years, he worked menial jobs while caring for his mother. Her treatment cost $40,000 monthly. His maintenance salary barely covered living expenses. He endured humiliation while maintaining the fiction of being another struggling veteran. Inside, he remained Ghost Alpha, the most skilled pilot in American history. Every night he studied aviation technology. Every weekend, he visited airfields maintaining flight skills with private aircraft. Every month, he updated knowledge of military systems he'd helped design. He was waiting, preparing, hoping his abilities would matter again. Victoria Sterling's challenge gave him that chance. The woman who thinks she's humiliating a janitor just awakened the most dangerous pilot alive. Ghost Alpha has been grounded for 3 years. The F-35 prototype gleaming under hangar lights represents freedom he thought was lost forever. But returning to the sky means exposing secrets that governments kill to protect. It means abandoning the safety of anonymity. It means risking everything for a chance at justice. The aircraft waits. The crowd watches. The cameras roll. Ghost Alpha is about to fly again. The question isn't whether Darius can pilot the F-35. The question is whether the world is ready to see a legend return from the dead. The hangar transforms into a gladiatorial arena. Within 30 minutes, Victoria Sterling's spontaneous bet becomes the most watched corporate spectacle in history. News trucks arrive from every major network. CNN, Fox, BBC, Al Jazeera, satellite dishes sprout like metal flowers across Sterling's parking lot. The live stream audience explodes past 2 million viewers and climbs. Victoria feeds on the attention like oxygen. She struts across the hangar floor, designer heels clicking against concrete, orchestrating the chaos with theatrical precision. "Ladies and gentlemen of the press," her voice echoes through the massive space. "Today you'll witness the difference between fantasy and reality in aviation." She gestures toward the gleaming F-35 prototype. The aircraft squats under harsh fluorescent lights like a sleeping predator. $80 million of cutting-edge death machinery. The most advanced fighter jet on Earth. "This is not a toy," Victoria continues, her voice dripping with condescension. "This aircraft requires years of training, months of preparation, and the highest security clearances to operate safely." She points at Darius, still standing near the oil spill in his stained maintenance uniform. That individual believes custodial work qualifies him to pilot military hardware. The crowd shifts between fascination and discomfort. Pentagon officials whisper among themselves. Some employees look embarrassed by their CEO's behavior. Others record everything on their phones, sensing viral gold. Victoria's legal team materializes with briefcases full of contracts. 3 lawyers in $1,000 suits spread documents across a makeshift table. The marriage agreement becomes legally binding, witnessed by military officials and broadcast to millions. "The terms are simple," Victoria announces, signing papers with flourish. "Perfect flight demonstration equals marriage contract fulfilled on live television." She pauses for dramatic effect. "Failure equals $80 million debt transferred to his family." Gasps ripple through the crowd. The financial implications are staggering. 3 generations of debt slavery for a single mistake. General Patricia Hayes steps forward, her uniform decorated with combat ribbons and service medals. "Ms. Sterling, this is highly irregular. The Pentagon cannot sanction—" "General, you're here to evaluate capabilities," Victoria interrupts smoothly. "What better demonstration than showing the skill gap between trained pilots and maintenance staff?" Her confidence radiates through every gesture. She's choreographed corporate humiliations before, but never on this scale, never with these stakes. The betting begins immediately. Sterling employees create gambling pools on company smartphones. 97% bet against Darius. Comments range from cruel mockery to outright racism. Social media explodes with hashtags. "Fly this jet marriage" trends globally within minutes. Memes flood Twitter faster than moderators can track them. The story jumps from aviation blogs to mainstream news within an hour. Victoria grants impromptu interviews to major networks, positioning herself as an educator about aviation safety. "Real pilots train for years," she tells CNN's cameras. "They understand the immense responsibility of handling advanced military equipment. This individual wants to skip that training because he thinks maintenance experience qualifies him to fly." The lies flow smoothly. Victoria has convinced herself she's providing valuable public education about professional standards and workplace hierarchy. Meanwhile, Darius stands alone near the aircraft. He runs his hands along the F-35's hull with practiced movements. Other employees mock his inspection from a safe distance, treating it like performance art. One observer watches silently. Captain James Morrison. Morrison serves as Sterling's technical advisor after 30 years flying test aircraft for the Air Force. His resume includes first flights of experimental prototypes, combat missions over 3 war zones, and safety innovations that saved hundreds of pilot lives. Something about Darius's approach bothers Morrison. Not because it seems amateurish, but because it looks disturbingly professional. The way Darius examines control surfaces, The systematic inspection of engine intakes, the careful attention to hydraulic connections and fuel systems. These are procedures taught in advanced flight training programs. Morrison approaches quietly. You seem familiar with this aircraft. Darius glances up. His expression reveals nothing. I study aviation technology in my spare time, Captain. Most maintenance workers don't know where to find the emergency oxygen systems. I've always been curious about how things work. Morrison studies Darius's face, searching for clues. 30 years of military service taught him to recognize competence. This man's movements suggest experience that contradicts his employment history. Victoria notices their conversation and intervenes quickly. Captain Morrison, please don't encourage this delusion. We're trying to prevent a tragedy here. She turns back to the crowd, raising her voice to regain attention. Let's discuss the specific challenges this individual will face. Victoria produces a tablet displaying flight specifications. The F-35 Lightning II represents the pinnacle of military aviation technology. Its Pratt & Whitney engine generates 43,000 pounds of thrust. Its advanced avionics require extensive training to operate safely. She scrolls through technical data, enjoying her role as expert educator. The aircraft's flight envelope includes speeds exceeding Mach 1.6, service ceiling above 50,000 feet, and G-force capabilities that would render untrained pilots unconscious. Pentagon officials nod approvingly. Victoria's technical knowledge appears impressive to civilians watching the live stream. But Morrison notices something crucial. Darius shows no surprise at any specification mentioned, no confusion about technical terminology, no intimidation at the complexity described. Most concerning, Darius appears to be performing mental calculations as Victoria lists performance parameters. The test will include 3 phases, Victoria announces with theatrical flair. Basic takeoff and landing procedures, where I expect immediate failure. Advanced maneuvers including combat simulations, obviously impossible for maintenance staff. Finally, precision landing on a target smaller than the aircraft's wingspan, which requires years of experience to achieve safely. She smiles cruelly. We've arranged medical teams for crash response and legal documentation for debt transfer to his family. The psychological warfare intensifies. Victoria's team wheels out equipment worth millions of dollars. Diagnostic computers, medical stretchers, and insurance paperwork create an atmosphere of inevitable disaster. The crowd grows restless. 3 million viewers demand action. Network executives pressure their on-site reporters for dramatic content. Victoria offers one final humiliation. I'll provide him with proper flight equipment, she announces magnanimously. Can't say we didn't give him every advantage. She produces a flight suit deliberately chosen 2 sizes too small and a helmet lacking proper radio equipment. The crowd laughs at her generosity. Morrison's unease peaks. Ms. Sterling, if you're serious about this demonstration, provide proper equipment. Safety should be paramount. Captain, we're not actually expecting him to complete any challenging maneuvers, Victoria replies dismissively. This will end during taxi procedures when he realizes he's out of his depth. She turns to Darius with theatrical sympathy. Last chance to withdraw gracefully. Admit you're not qualified, and I'll let you keep your custodial position. The hangar falls silent. 3 million people watch live streams. Pentagon officials wait for sanity to prevail. Victoria's employees hold their breath. Darius straightens to his full height. Oil stains and humiliation can't diminish the quiet confidence in his posture. Ma'am, I accept all terms of your challenge, he says clearly. When I complete this demonstration successfully, you'll honor the marriage contract as witnessed by these officials. His voice carries no doubt, no fear, no hesitation. Prepare your aircraft, Ms. Sterling. Let's show these people what a real pilot looks like. The greatest aviation upset in history is about to begin. The transformation begins the moment Darius approaches the aircraft. His movements shift from apologetic maintenance worker to something else entirely. The slouched posture straightens. The hesitant steps become purposeful strides. The nervous glances evolve into systematic assessment. Victoria notices the change first. "Look at him pretending to be professional," she announces to the cameras. "This should be entertaining." But entertainment quickly transforms into bewilderment. First revelation: pre-flight inspection mastery. Standard safety protocol requires complete aircraft inspection before flight, Victoria declares, consulting her tablet. Any real pilot would know the proper procedures. She expects confusion. Questions about where to start. Requests for guidance that will expose his incompetence immediately. Instead, Darius begins a systematic inspection that follows F-35 technical manual procedures to the letter. He starts at the aircraft's nose, running practiced hands along sensor arrays that cost more than most houses. His fingers trace the outline of radar equipment with the confidence of someone who understands both function and fragility. "Pitot tube's clear," he murmurs, checking airspeed sensors. "Static ports are unobstructed. Navigation equipment is properly secured." The crowd murmurs. These aren't lucky guesses. These are specific technical checkpoints that require training to identify. Darius moves to the landing gear, examining hydraulic connections with professional thoroughness. He checks tire pressure by examining sidewall deformation patterns, a technique taught only in advanced maintenance schools. "Left main gear hydraulic pressure appears low," he announces. "Approximately 12 psi below optimal operating range." Victoria's maintenance supervisor scrambles to check the reading. His diagnostic computer confirms the assessment within 2 psi accuracy. "Lucky guess," Victoria mutters, but her confidence wavers slightly. Darius continues around the aircraft, identifying issues that ground crews missed during their earlier inspection. Wing flap actuators need lubrication. Fuel cap seals show wear patterns indicating potential leaks. Engine intake screens contain debris that could damage turbine blades. Every observation proves correct when verified by diagnostic equipment. General Hayes watches intently. That's impressive technical knowledge for maintenance staff. He memorized a manual, Victoria dismisses. Anyone can repeat procedures. But Darius isn't following memorized procedures. He's adapting his inspection based on observed conditions, adjusting his focus to areas where experience suggests problems might develop. When he reaches the engine compartment, the real surprise begins. This isn't standard F-35 configuration, Darius observes quietly. He points to modifications invisible to untrained eyes. Adaptive cycle engine with experimental thrust vectoring, heat signature masking systems, enhanced fuel injection timing. The crowd falls silent. Those modifications are classified. They shouldn't be visible to civilian personnel. Pentagon officials exchange alarmed glances. Morrison steps closer, his expression growing more concerned. "How do you recognize those modifications?" Morrison asks directly. "The intake geometry is different," Darius explains calmly. "Standard F-35s have fixed geometry inlets. This aircraft has variable geometry systems that adjust automatically based on flight conditions. The fuel lines are routed differently to accommodate adaptive cycle requirements." Morrison's eyes narrow. That information appears in classified technical manuals that require security clearances to access. Victoria senses the crowd's shifting mood and intervenes quickly. "Engine inspection complete. Let's move to systems integration testing, where this fantasy will end." Second revelation: systems integration understanding. The F-35's experimental modifications require custom startup sequences, Victoria announces, consulting notes from her engineering team. "Only our most experienced technicians know these procedures." She expects this challenge to expose Darius immediately. The startup sequence for experimental aircraft requires knowledge of classified systems integration protocols. Darius approaches the cockpit like he's coming home. The fighter's interior bristles with advanced technology. Touchscreen displays replace traditional analog instruments. Computer systems manage everything from engine performance to weapons targeting. The complexity overwhelms most pilots during their first exposure. Darius settles into the pilot's seat with familiar ease. His hands find controls without hesitation. His eyes scan instrument panels with practiced efficiency. "Beginning pre-startup checklist," he announces over the aircraft's radio system. What follows astounds everyone watching. Darius activates systems in perfect sequence, coordinating multiple computer networks that must synchronize precisely to function safely. Engine startup requires coordination between fuel injection, ignition timing, hydraulic pressure, and electrical systems. Hydraulics online. Primary electrical systems are active, fuel pumps pressurized, ignition systems are armed. Each step flows seamlessly into the next. No hesitation, no consultation of manuals, no requests for assistance. The experimental modifications add complexity that challenges even experienced pilots. Adaptive cycle engines require real-time adjustments based on atmospheric conditions, flight configuration, and performance requirements. Darius makes those adjustments intuitively. Adaptive cycle parameters optimized for current atmospheric conditions, he reports. Fuel mixture adjusted for ambient temperature and humidity. Engine management systems synchronized with flight control computers. Morrison watches in growing amazement. These procedures require months of training for qualified pilots to master. The engine starts with a sound like controlled thunder. Perfectly smooth ignition. Optimal fuel burn characteristics. System integration that exceeds manufacturer specifications. Engine performance nominal, Darius reports. All systems showing green, aircraft ready for flight operations. Victoria stares at the diagnostic displays showing perfect system operation. According to her engineering team, this startup sequence should take 30 minutes minimum, requiring constant technical support. Darius completed it in 12 minutes, alone, without assistance. "Impossible," she whispers. "The modifications are experimental. Nobody outside our engineering team understands." "Engine performance optimized beyond standard parameters," Morrison interrupts, reading computer displays. "Fuel efficiency up 14%. Power output increased 8%. How did you achieve those improvements?" Darius adjusts several engine management settings with quick precision. Standard settings assume sea-level operations and average atmospheric conditions. Current barometric pressure and temperature allow higher compression ratios without risking engine damage. The crowd murmurs in amazement. Pentagon officials take notes. Victoria's engineering team exchanges confused glances. "Those optimizations require supercomputer modeling," the head engineer whispers to Victoria. "Our team spent 6 months developing those protocols." "Request permission for flight operations," Darius announces over the radio. Third revelation, the flight, ultimate demonstration. Victoria's last hope for maintaining control lies in flight performance. Even if Darius understands aircraft systems, actually flying a fighter jet requires skills impossible to fake. "Air traffic control, this is Sterling Aviation requesting clearance for experimental aircraft demonstration," Morrison announces. As senior pilot present, he assumes communication responsibilities. "Sterling Aviation, you are cleared for demonstration flight. Weather conditions optimal. Winds calm. Visibility unlimited." The crowd watches from behind safety barriers as the F-35 taxis toward the runway. Even this basic maneuver challenges inexperienced pilots. Fighter jets handle differently than civilian aircraft, requiring constant adjustments to maintain control. Darius taxis with absolute precision, smooth acceleration, perfect directional control, professional radio communication throughout. "Tower, Ghost Alpha requesting permission for a tactical demonstration profile." The radio transmission stops everyone cold. "Did he just say Ghost Alpha?" General Hayes demands, grabbing Morrison's radio. "Ghost Alpha, please repeat the call sign. That designation is classified." "Tower, this is Ghost Alpha requesting permission for advanced combat demonstration." Pentagon officials scramble for secure phones. Ghost Alpha is supposed to be dead. Military records show Captain Darius Williams killed in action 3 years ago. Victoria watches her carefully orchestrated humiliation spiral beyond her control. What's happening? Who is Ghost Alpha? General Hayes speaks into her radio with urgent authority. All stations have positive identification of the call sign Ghost Alpha. Repeat, Ghost Alpha is active and airborne. The F-35 reaches the runway's end. Standard takeoff procedures require gradual acceleration, careful monitoring of engine performance, and precise control inputs to achieve safe flight. What happens next defies every expectation. The aircraft launches like a rocket, perfect acceleration profile, flawless rotation at precisely the correct airspeed. Climb rate that maximizes performance without stressing airframe limits. Jesus Christ, Morrison breathes, watching performance displays. I've never seen takeoff execution that clean. Within 60 seconds, the F-35 reaches cruising altitude. Radio transmissions resume with professional precision that sounds nothing like a maintenance worker. Tower, Ghost Alpha requesting permission for advanced maneuvering demonstration. Ghost Alpha, you are cleared for all standard demonstration maneuvers. What follows transforms the crowd's laughter into stunned silence. The F-35 executes barrel rolls with mathematical precision, inverted flight that maintains perfect altitude control. High G turns that push the aircraft to its design limits without exceeding safety parameters. Each maneuver flows seamlessly into the next. No wasted motion, no hesitation, no recovery delays that indicate pilot uncertainty. Airspeed management is perfect, Morrison reports, monitoring flight data. G-force loading within optimal ranges. Engine performance exceeded all expectations. The crowd watches through binoculars and telephoto lenses as the aircraft performs maneuvers that challenge experienced military pilots. Combat simulations, evasive patterns, precision formation flying with imaginary wingmen. Victoria stares at the performance displays showing impossible statistics. Fuel efficiency, 20% above normal. Engine stress levels well below danger thresholds. Flight envelope utilization that maximizes aircraft capabilities. This isn't possible, she repeats like a mantra. Maintenance workers don't fly like that. The final test arrives. Precision landing. Victoria designated a landing target smaller than the aircraft's wingspan. White painted lines on the runway mark an area that challenges even experienced pilots. The F-35 approaches with textbook precision. Perfect glide slope. Optimal airspeed control. Flare timing that demonstrates thousands of hours of experience. The aircraft touches down exactly in the center of the target zone. Perfect three-point landing. Immediate speed reduction through professional braking technique. The crowd erupts in thunderous applause. Darius taxis back to the hangar with the same professional precision that marked every aspect of his performance. Engine shutdown follows perfect procedures. Post-flight systems checks are complete flawlessly. When the canopy opens, Ghost Alpha emerges, not the apologetic janitor who cleaned oil spills an hour earlier. The man climbing from the cockpit moves with the confidence of someone who belongs there. Victoria Sterling stares at the impossible. Her cruel joke has awakened something that shouldn't exist. "Who are you?" she whispers. The answer will destroy everything she thought she knew about power, prejudice, and the price of underestimating the wrong man. General Patricia Hayes' secure satellite phone erupts with urgent calls as Darius climbs from the cockpit. Pentagon brass, CIA operatives, and National Security Council members demand immediate answers about Ghost Alpha's miraculous resurrection. Confirm identity verification. Hayes speaks into her encrypted device. Run biometric analysis on all available footage. Cross-reference with classified personnel files. The response arrives within 90 seconds. Hayes' face transforms from confusion to shock to something approaching awe. "Ma'am, we have positive confirmation," the voice reports through secured channels. Facial recognition, voice pattern analysis, and flight performance characteristics all match Captain Darius Williams, call sign Ghost Alpha. "That's impossible," Hayes responds. Ghost Alpha died 3 years ago. I attended his memorial service. Negative, General. Ghost Alpha's death was fabricated for operational security. The subject remains classified as an active deep cover asset. His current civilian identity has been maintained under national security protocols. The magnitude hits like a physical blow. The greatest test pilot in American military history has been working as a janitor for 2 years. The man with a $50 million bounty on his head from hostile nations has been cleaning toilets while enduring racist humiliation. Hayes approaches the aircraft where Darius removes his helmet. 3 million viewers watch via live stream as she renders a crisp military salute. Captain Williams, she says clearly, her voice carrying across the silent hangar. The United States Air Force is honored by your service. The crowd freezes. Captain Williams? Military service? This contradicts everything they've witnessed over the past hour. Darius returns the salute with practiced precision. General Hayes, permission to speak freely? Granted, Captain. My cover has been compromised. I request immediate contact with Command Authority for operational status clarification. Victoria Sterling watches this exchange like a fever dream. Military protocol between her janitor and a Pentagon general makes no sense within her understanding of reality. What's happening? She demands. This man works for me. He cleans bathrooms. General Hayes turns toward Victoria with an expression that could melt steel. Ma'am, you have been systematically humiliating one of America's most decorated military officers. The words hit the crowd like explosive charges. Decorated military officer? The maintenance worker they've mocked for months is military personnel? Hayes continues with mounting authority. Captain Darius Williams, call sign Ghost Alpha, holds the record for most successful experimental flight tests in Air Force history. His innovations have saved hundreds of pilot lives. Enemy nations have placed bounties exceeding $50 million on his capture. Gasps ripple through the assembled employees. $50 million? This is the janitor they've spent months ridiculing? Ghost Alpha's contributions to military aviation are classified at the highest levels, Hayes explains to the stunned crowd. His technical knowledge surpasses most aerospace engineers. His flight skills represent the pinnacle of American pilot training. Victoria's legs give out. She stumbles backward, catching herself against a maintenance cart. Her carefully constructed reality crumbles around her. No, she whispers. This is impossible. He's just a maintenance worker. Ma'am, Hayes responds with icy precision. You just challenged the most elite pilot in American military history to prove his flying abilities, on live television, in front of 3 million witnesses. The live stream comments explode with shock, amazement, and demands for justice. #Ghost Alpha trends globally within minutes. News networks interrupt regular programming. Social media influencers scramble to explain the magnitude of what just occurred. Morrison approaches Darius with professional respect. Captain, your flight demonstration was extraordinary. Performance parameters exceeded all expectations. Thank you, Captain Morrison. The aircraft handled beautifully. Your maintenance teams should be commended. Victoria stares at this calm exchange between military professionals while her empire crumbles in real time. Sterling Aviation's stock price begins plummeting as investors grasp the implications. The marriage contract, someone shouts from the crowd. She has to honor the marriage contract. The legal team scrambles through their paperwork. The bet was legally binding, witnessed by Pentagon officials and broadcast to millions of viewers worldwide. Victoria's voice cracks with desperation. I can't. This was supposed to be a joke. Darius approaches her with the quiet confidence of someone who holds all the power. Miss Sterling, you made a public commitment witnessed by military officials and broadcast globally. His voice carries no malice, no desire for revenge, just steady professionalism. However, I propose different terms for this contract resolution. The crowd leans forward. 3 million viewers hold their breath. Instead of marriage, I request that you publicly acknowledge the systematic discrimination you've perpetrated against minority employees at this company. Victoria's face crumples. Public acknowledgement means legal liability, federal investigations, and personal destruction. I also request that Sterling Aviation implement immediate policy changes ensuring equal treatment for all employees, regardless of background. Darius pauses, allowing the weight of his words to settle. Finally, I request that you personally apologize to every employee you've humiliated during your tenure as CEO. The choice is simple: public admission of systematic racism or breach of contract lawsuits that will destroy her completely. Victoria Sterling, billionaire CEO and corporate bully, faces the man she tormented for months, the man whose military service protected her freedom while she questioned his worth. "Captain Williams," she whispers, her voice breaking. I was wrong about everything." The most expensive lesson in humility ever broadcast has only just begun. The hangar transforms into a tribunal of justice. General Hayes assumes command while Sterling's board arrives via emergency helicopters. "Captain Williams," Hayes announces to 3 million viewers, "the United States Air Force formally acknowledges your continued service to aviation safety." She produces official documents. "Your contributions to experimental aircraft development have advanced American air superiority by decades. The Pentagon offers immediate reinstatement with promotion to lieutenant colonel." Military protocol unfolds before civilian eyes. This isn't a corporate theater. This is government recognition of extraordinary service. Sterling Aviation's emergency board meeting concludes quickly. Chairman Robert Sterling approaches the microphone with visible embarrassment. "The board has voted to restructure company leadership," he announces. "Victoria Sterling is suspended pending investigation into discriminatory practices." Victoria watches her empire crumble in real time. "Captain Williams," the chairman continues, "the board offers immediate appointment as chief test pilot with annual compensation of $400,000 plus equity. The offer represents complete vindication. From janitor to executive in one afternoon. But the marriage contract remains." Darius approaches the microphone with quiet dignity. "Ms. Sterling, you publicly promised marriage if I demonstrated flight competency." Victoria's lawyers search frantically for escape clauses that don't exist. "However," Darius continues with moral authority, "true partnership requires mutual respect, something won through understanding, not humiliation." He addresses the global audience directly. "I release Ms. Sterling from any marriage obligation. Justice isn't served through forced relationships, but through acknowledgement of wrongdoing and commitment to change." The crowd erupts. Social media explodes with praise for his extraordinary grace. "I accept Sterling's employment offer, contingent upon comprehensive diversity policies," Darius concludes. "Every employee deserves respect regardless of background." Victoria collapses into a chair, overwhelmed by consequences she never anticipated. Within hours, Darius's mother will receive full medical coverage through restored military benefits. His cancer-stricken family will access the best treatment available. Sterling Aviation begins the most comprehensive corporate transformation in Silicon Valley history. 47 minority employees receive immediate promotions to positions matching their qualifications. The Pentagon investigation into Victoria's security breach, allowing civilian access to classified aircraft, will result in criminal charges. Darius Williams, call sign Ghost Alpha, has returned from the dead to claim his rightful place in the sky. The most expensive bet in corporate history has been settled. Now comes the reckoning. The consequences arrive like a tsunami of accountability. Within 6 hours of the live stream ending, Sterling Aviation's stock price collapsed 38%. Investors flee as they grasp the magnitude of Victoria's liability exposure. Discrimination lawsuits, federal investigations, and Pentagon contract reviews trigger panic selling. Victoria's personal wealth evaporates overnight. Her Sterling shares, worth $800 million that morning, lost $300 million in market value before trading halts. The Department of Labor launches a federal investigation within 24 hours. Agents seize company records, interview dozens of employees, and document systematic patterns of racial discrimination spanning Victoria's entire tenure. 43 employees file discrimination lawsuits within the first week. Each case represents years of documented abuse, salary theft, and career destruction. Legal experts estimate total damages exceeding $200 million. The Pentagon suspends all Sterling Aviation contracts pending security review. General Hayes personally revokes Victoria's security clearance after determining she allowed unauthorized personnel access to classified aircraft systems. Ms. Sterling's judgment poses unacceptable risks to national security, Hayes states in official testimony. Her conduct demonstrates fundamental unfitness for defense contractor responsibilities. The contract suspensions cost Sterling $4 billion in projected revenue. The company's credit rating drops to junk status. Major suppliers demand immediate payment for outstanding invoices. Victoria's personal life implodes with equal devastation. Her husband files for divorce within 72 hours, citing irreconcilable differences regarding moral character. Court documents reveal his shock at discovering his wife's systematic racism through viral footage. "I cannot remain married to someone whose values contradict everything I believe about human dignity," his statement reads. Victoria's children, attending prestigious universities, face immediate social ostracism. Student groups organize protests. Alumni associations pressure administrations to address the Sterling controversy. Her eldest daughter changes her surname to avoid association with the family name. Her son transfers universities to escape constant harassment. The Hillsborough Country Club revokes Victoria's membership after an emergency board review. The San Francisco Symphony removes her name from patron lists. Charity organizations return her donations rather than accept money from someone associated with workplace discrimination. Victoria becomes a social pariah overnight. Former friends refuse phone calls. Business associates cancel lunch meetings. Society events uninvite her with obvious embarrassment. The industry-wide transformation accelerates rapidly. Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman implement immediate diversity audits within 60 days. The viral footage forces aerospace executives to examine their own companies for similar problems. 47 previously overlooked minority engineers receive promotions across the industry within 6 months. The #GhostAlpha movement inspires systematic changes in hiring practices, promotion protocols, and workplace harassment policies. Military recruitment benefits from increased minority interest. The Air Force reports 40% higher applications from underrepresented communities within 90 days of Darius's revelation. Aviation schools partner with historically black colleges to identify talented students previously excluded from career pipelines. NASA announces scholarship programs specifically targeting minority candidates. Victoria's criminal exposure intensifies as investigations expand. Local prosecutors examine harassment charges, intimidation tactics, and possible civil rights violations. Federal authorities investigate security breaches related to classified aircraft access. The accumulated legal fees exceed $2 million within 6 months. Victoria's legal team warns that criminal conviction could result in federal prison sentences. But the most devastating consequence remains personal isolation. Victoria sits alone in her Palo Alto mansion, surrounded by luxury that no longer provides comfort. Her phone remains silent. Her email inbox fills with legal notices rather than social invitations. The woman who built her identity on superiority and control now faces complete powerlessness. 8 months later, Victoria enrolls in court-mandated diversity education programs. She attends workshops on unconscious bias, systemic racism, and workplace equality. The transformation is slow but genuine. Victoria begins volunteering at veterans organizations, learning about service and sacrifice she never understood. She writes personal apology letters to every employee she humiliated. Most go unanswered, but several lead to painful conversations about the lasting damage her actions caused. Justice isn't just punishment. Sometimes it's education. Sometimes it's the chance to become better than you were. 18 months later, Captain Darius Williams stands before the completed Ghost Alpha Memorial at Sterling Aviation Headquarters. The bronze statue honors all overlooked talent that waits for recognition. Sterling Aviation has become the industry leader in diversity and innovation. Under Darius's technical leadership, the company develops breakthrough aircraft systems that revolutionize military aviation. 63 previously overlooked employees now hold senior engineering positions. Company profits have increased 47% through enhanced innovation and improved workplace culture. Darius's mother completed her cancer treatment successfully. She attends every company celebration, tears of pride streaming as she watches her son receive the recognition he always deserved. The Ghost Alpha Foundation provides scholarships for underrepresented students pursuing aviation careers. 200 recipients have entered aerospace programs across America. Victoria Sterling completed her community service at veterans organizations. She now speaks publicly about the cost of prejudice and the power of redemption. The sky truly belongs to those brave enough to claim it. If it were you facing such humiliation, would you have found the courage to fly? Watch again at minute 23:15. There's a detail only sharp-eyed viewers notice about Darius's first aircraft inspection that reveals everything. Subscribe to Blacktail's Stories for more stories of hidden heroes who changed the world when given the chance.